Welcome to the Economist in Your Ear podcast. Today we're asking a question that's probably, popped up in your social media feed, maybe even landed in your morning smoothie. Can a daily dose of something derived from, well, animal parts truly make your skin glow and your joints feel young again? We're going to examine a recent article from The Economist that tackled collagen supplements. Now that piece, it brought up some really interesting points, gave us a solid starting place. But as we looked closer, pulling in some additional research and the very latest scientific data, it became clear there's a much more complex and, frankly, far more fascinating story to tell here.
Yeah.
We're going beyond just summarizing that article. We want to really explore the nuances, maybe challenge some common assumptions, and get to the core of what the science actually says right now.
Yeah.
Let's start with the foundation, what the Economist article laid out. It rightly points out that collagen supplements are, well, they're a massive trend. I mean, they're everywhere, appealing to everyone from high-performance athletes hoping for, stronger joints, to those of us simply looking for anti-aging benefits for skin and hair. This huge popularity, it says something about what people are hoping for, doesn't it?
It really does.
And the article, it accurately describes collagen itself, call it a vital structural protein, like the body's scaffolding, basically.
Exactly.
Making up a huge chunk, 25 to 30% of all protein.
That's right.
Giving shape and support to skin, bones, muscles, tendons, everything. And it highlights a key fact, one we probably don't love hearing. Our body's natural ability to make new collagen, it declines with age.
Yeah, that's the tough part.
Starts surprisingly early, too, like late 20s, 1% a year.
Roughly, yes. And then things like UV exposure, smoking, alcohol, even stress, they speed it up.
Right.
So yes, that foundational understanding of collagen's role and its age-related decline is absolutely spot on. What's truly fascinating, though, is just how pervasive collagen is throughout the body, which, as you said, explains why you see so many different benefits claimed by the supplement makers.
Makes sense.
And The Economist also correctly identifies that the clinical evidence, the proof for these supplements is, well, they put it nicely, mixed and uneven.
Mixed and uneven, yeah.
And recent meta-analyses, those studies that combine lots of other studies, they confirm this. They show, modest effects sometimes, but the studies themselves can be really different. Different quality, different designs, what we call variable risk of bias. So you have to be careful interpreting them.
Okay. And they also touched on that counter-argument. Maybe it's just protein.
Ah, yes.
That maybe something like whey protein is just as good, maybe even better. They mentioned a specific Dutch study from 2023.
The whey versus collagen one.
Yeah, finding whey outperformed collagen for boosting connective tissue growth during recovery, which on the surface kind of makes you think, okay, maybe collagen isn't that special.
Well, that Dutch study is a good benchmark, definitely, especially for what we call acute muscle protein synthesis. So how quickly your muscles repair right after exercise. And yes, in that context, specifically with young men doing resistance training, whey came out ahead.
Right.
But to the Economist's credit, they also correctly stated that collagen supplements generally seem safe. We've got over 40 randomized controlled trials now, and no serious side effects have really been reported widely.
That's reassuring.
Yeah, so regulators like the FDA and others, they're mainly focused on quality control, making sure what's on the label is in the bottle, rather than worrying about the collagen itself being toxic.
Okay, so the ingredient itself is fine.
Seems to be, yes, based on current evidence.
All right, so that's the baseline from the article. But here's where, our discussion gets more interesting. Because while The Economist gives that solid overview, it definitely glosses over some critical, much newer data that paints a far more detailed and, honestly, more optimistic picture in some areas. It kind of left you thinking the evidence was still pretty shaky overall.
Yeah, a bit inconclusive, maybe.
Let's dive into skin and aesthetics first, because that's a huge driver for people buying this stuff, right?
Absolutely.
You might still think, based on older reviews, that the evidence is mixed. Maybe it's just wishful thinking. The Economist cited a 2021 review that found some decrease in wrinkles, but it didn't really highlight how much stronger the recent data is.
Exactly. And things have moved on since 2021. If we look at the bigger picture now, a really substantial 2023 meta-analysis, this one combined 26 trials, over 1,700 people.
Wow. Yeah.
It showed statistically significant improvements in both skin hydration and elasticity with hydrolyzed collagen versus placebo.
So measurable improvement.
Measurable, yes.
Yeah.
And then even more recently, a 2024 study, 12 weeks, double-blind, 300 women, They reported a 14% reduction in wrinkle depth
14%.
with just 2.5 grams a day. And crucially, this was independent of their total protein intake.
Okay, that's key. So it wasn't just because they were getting more protein overall?
Precisely. These seem to be real measurable effects specifically from the collagen peptides, moving beyond just anecdotes.
Okay, so not just wishful thinking for skin. That's pretty clear then. What about joint health? Musculoskeletal pain. The Economist review suggested mixed effects there too. Only about half the study showing benefits. Kind of left the jury out, especially for athletes or people with joint pain.
Well, the jury's definitely been busy since then. An updated meta-analysis from 2025. This one had 15 trials, over 1,300 participants. It showed meaningful reductions in pain and functional limitation in knee osteoarthritis using the WOMAC scale, which measures pain, stiffness, function.
Right, the standard scale for OA.
Exactly. So real patient-reported benefits, especially at doses of 10 grams per day or more.
10 grams or more. That's quite a bit higher than the skin dose.
It is, yes. And another big review, a 2025 systematic review looking at 36 trials, also concluded the benefits are clearest for joint pain. Effects on things like bone density or muscle mass were more inconsistent, probably because the studies were set up differently. But for joint pain, the evidence is leaning much more towards a clear benefit now.
Okay, and what about athletes? Sports performance. That Dutch study made it sound like whey was the winner for connective tissue, suggesting pure collagen didn't really boost it. So an athlete might think, okay, collagen's not for me. Is that still the case?
It's true for that acute muscle protein synthesis, especially in young men doing weights, whey performs better. That Dutch study was right about that specific scenario.
Okay.
But the whole protein quality discussion in sports is getting more nuanced. It's not just a simple head-to-head anymore. What's really exciting is the research on blends.
Blends.
Yeah, combining different types of protein. For instance, one study showed a blend, 25 grams of whey plus 5 grams of collagen, increased both muscle protein synthesis and connective tissue protein synthesis.
Both at the same time.
Both, at rest and during recovery. Something that neither pure collagen nor placebo did on their own in that study.
Huh. So it's not either.
Exactly. It suggests there's a synergy. The combination might be quite powerful for overall recovery, hitting both muscle and connective tissue.
That's a really interesting twist.
Yeah.
Because it pushes back against that simple idea that collagen is just, another protein source.
It does.
Which brings up the big question. Like, why would collagen be different? If it's just protein, why isn't any protein doing this? The Economist suggested, well, glycine and proline aren't essential amino acids. Your body makes them, so maybe supplementing isn't necessary. But that doesn't explain these specific effects you're describing, does it?
Yeah.
What's the mechanism?
This is where the science gets really cool, and it's relatively recent stuff. We now understand much more about the mechanics. It turns out specific small fragments of collagen, these and tripeptides, like one called prohype, proline hydroxyproline,
Okay.
they actually survive digestion. They don't just get broken down into individual amino acids like you might expect.
They stay intact.
Largely, yes.
Huh.
And they get into your bloodstream as these small peptide units. And here's the kicker. They don't just act as building blocks. They function as signaling molecules.
Signaling molecules, like hormones.
Sort of like tiny messengers, yeah. These specific fragments, like prohype, can act as signals for fibroblasts. Those are the cells that actually make collagen in your skin and joints.
So they tell the fibroblasts to get busy.
Essentially, yes. They act as chemotactic signals, drawing fibroblasts in, and they can also directly tell the cells, through gene expression, to produce more stuff like hyaluronic acid and type I collagen. We've seen this in vitro in lab studies.
Wow.
These specific bioactive fragments are what makes hydrolyzed collagen different from just any old protein source. They have a targeted signaling effect. That's the game changer.
So it's not just providing raw materials, it's actually sending instructions.
Exactly. It's stimulating your body's own machinery in a specific way.
That really reframes things. And it makes me think about some assumptions in the Economist piece that maybe need another look. Like that core idea that collagen supplements might just be replacing protein you could get elsewhere.
Yeah.
Eat more chicken, drink a whey shake, same difference.
Right. That assumption really overlooks this unique signaling property we just talked about. These bioactive peptides, they don't just float around randomly. They've been shown to actually accumulate in specific places, like the synovial fluid in your joints.
Okay.
And they actively trigger the making of the extracellular matrix, the stuff that gives tissue structure. You don't see that same specific effect with just a general mix of amino acids, or even with whey protein in cell models anyway.
So collagen isn't just more protein in that sense.
No, it seems to be doing something quite distinct and biologically active beyond just adding to your total protein count.
What about the point they made about glycine and proline being non-essential? The idea being your body makes them, so you don't need to get them from supplements. Intake rarely limits synthesis, they suggested.
Yeah, that sounds logical on the surface, but it brings up this concept of conditional essentiality.
Conditional essentiality.
Meaning an amino acid might be non-essential under normal conditions, but becomes essential under certain circumstances.
Like what?
Well, metabolic modeling suggests our body's own production of glycine, for example, might only cover about 2/3 of what we actually need during periods of high demand. Think about recovering from an injury or even just the cumulative effects of aging where tissue turnover is high.
So your body might not keep up.
It might not. In fact, the World Health Organization, the WHO, now lists glycine as conditionally essential for older adults.
Really? The WHO?
Yes. So that assumption that your body always makes enough and dietary intake is never a limiting factor. It's just not universally true, especially as we age or face physical stress.
Okay, that's a really important nuance. And what about using gelatin? The article kind of hinted it was a cheap substitute, maybe a useful hack. Can you just use regular gelatin powder instead of pricey collagen peptides?
Ah, the gelatin question. While they both come from collagen originally, the processing is totally different, and that difference is critical.
Yeah.
Unhydrolyzed gelatin, the stuff you make jelly with, has much, much larger peptide molecules. We're talking 10 to 50 times larger than what you find in hydrolyzed collagen supplements.
50 times?
Yeah, it's a huge difference in size. And that means much poorer absorption in your gut. You simply don't get those crucial bioactive peptides like ProHup reaching your bloodstream in any significant amount from plain gelatin.
So they don't get absorbed to do the signaling work.
Exactly. The evidence for pure gelatin actually working is very thin, and the dose you'd theoretically need would be massive, probably over 20 grams a day, just to maybe see a tiny effect. It's just not practical or efficient compared to hydrolyzed collagen.
Not a useful hack then.
Not really, no.
Yeah.
Not for these targeted benefits.
Okay. And finally, the article mentioned, no study suggests collagen is harmful, which implies safety is basically settled. You just buy it and you're good.
Right. And while the substance itself appears intrinsically safe, it is derived from food sources after all. That point really glosses over a major, major concern. Market quality is not settled, not by a long shot.
The product versus the ingredient.
Precisely. We've seen multiple FDA advisories, even just in 2024, citing big problems. Things like heavy metal contamination, lead, cadmium.
Oof, not good.
Not good at all. Or unregistered products hitting the market, sometimes with totally misleading labels. So yes, the collagen ingredient might be safe, but the specific product you pick up off the shelf, that needs real scrutiny. You can't assume it's clean or even contains what it says it does.
That's a crucial distinction. And related to that, the idea that because regulators haven't banned it, it's somehow endorsed or everything's fine in the market. Is that fair?
Quite the opposite, actually. Regulatory silence doesn't equal endorsement at all. Look at Europe, for example. There is no authorized EU-level health claim for collagen for skin or joints.
No official claim.
None. In fact, the European Food Safety Authority, EFSA, specifically rejected a dossier back in 2013 for skin elasticity claims. They said the human evidence wasn't strong enough then.
And has that changed?
Their official position hasn't, not for any broad claims, which really makes you wonder, right?
Yeah.
Why is the market absolutely booming with all these bold marketing claims if major regulators like ESA are still officially unconvinced about some of the widespread claims being made?
That's a big disconnect.
It really is. It highlights how much the marketing can run ahead of the rigorous regulatory approval process. It's a bit of a Wild West out there.
Okay. So after digging into all of this, going beyond that initial article, challenging some assumptions, looking at the latest science, what's the bottom line? What does this mean for you, the listener, wondering, should I take this stuff? Is it worth the money?
Well, connecting all these threads, I think it's clear collagen supplements are definitely not snake oil. There's real science there now.
Okay.
But just as importantly, they're not a magic bullet or a panacea either. The best evidence we have today points towards targeted, moderate benefits, provided, and this is key, provided your dosing is right, the product quality is good, and your expectations are realistic.
Manage expectations.
Absolutely. So let's break it down. For skin-focused users, you can realistically expect modest but measurable benefits in hydration and maybe elasticity.
How long does that take?
Usually starts showing up after 8 to 12 weeks of consistent use. Doses are typically lower here, around 2.5 to 5 grams a day of a good quality hydrolyzed type I or Li collagen. But know that the effects seem to plateau around 6 months, and you likely need to keep taking it to maintain the benefits. It's a commitment.
Okay. And for joint pain or osteoarthritis?
Here, symptom relief is plausible. It's supported by decent evidence now, maybe around a 5-point drop on that WMAC pain scale we mentioned.
Which is noticeable for someone in pain.
It can be, yes,
Yeah.
but the doses are higher, usually 10 to 15 grams per day. And critically, this should always be part of a broader plan, alongside standard care like weight management, exercise, especially quad strengthening for knee OA. It's an add-on, not a replacement for foundational care.
Got it. And for athletes, thinking about connective tissue health.
For athletes, pure collagen probably isn't going to beat whey for building muscle mass for general recovery in that sense.
Right.
However, that evidence for blends is really intriguing. Think about combining maybe 20 grams or more of high-quality protein like whey with 2 to 5 grams of collagen peptides.
And timing matters.
Seems to. Taking it with some vitamin C, maybe about 60 minutes before exercise that loads the tendons or ligaments, that seems to be the emerging strategy for potentially boosting connective tissue health and resilience.
Okay, interesting. And the cost? The economist mentioned it can be pricey. How does that factor in?
It's a fair point, gram for gram, especially looking at those specific bioactive peptides. Branded hydrolyzed collagen is usually more expensive than bulk whey protein.
Right.
However, it's vastly more practical and likely more effective for these specific benefits than trying to choke down huge amounts of plain gelatin.
Okay.
So yes, it's an investment, but you're paying for that targeted delivery of signaling peptides, which might be worth it depending on your specific goals.
So if someone decides, okay, I want to try this, what should they actually look for on the label? How do they avoid the dodgy stuff and the hype?
Excellent question. This is super important. First, always look for third-party testing.
Like NSF or Informed Sport?
Exactly. Those are good ones. They provide some assurance about purity, that what's on the label is in the product, and that it's been screened for contaminants like heavy metals and banned substances for athletes.
What else?
Look for transparency. Does the company provide a clear amino acid profile? Even better if they provide batch-specific heavy metal reports, though that's rarer.
And ignore the crazy claims.
Absolutely. Critically, disregard any marketing that promises outlandish things like boosted collagen production by 200% or guarantees hair regrowth.
Yeah, those sound too good to be true.
Because they are. Those kinds of claims are just not backed up by the human trial data we have. They're major red flags. Stick to reputable brands with third-party certs.
Okay, so wrapping this up, it seems like the Economist article gave us a decent starting point, but when you really dig into the newer science, collagen emerges as more than just generic protein. It's not magic, definitely not, but it does seem to have specific evidence-backed roles, particularly for skin hydration, maybe joint comfort, and potentially as part of a smart blend for connective tissue.
Exactly. Which leads to, I think, a broader question for you, the listener. In this age where we're flooded with information, headlines, social media snippets, how often do we maybe miss the full nuanced story because we only catch that first summary, that quick take? What other areas, whether it's health or technology or anything else, might really benefit from us taking a pause and looking a bit deeper, asking more questions, getting beyond just the surface level?
That's a great thought to leave people with. We hope this discussion has given you a more informed perspective on collagen and maybe some tools to approach health information more critically. Until next time, keep asking the big questions.